Weiss, one of the greatest Chachamim in our generation. Great prosek in Yerushalayim, which people consulting from around the world. He speaks perfect English, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. The great of the time he goes, I can't tell. You find out yourself.
Is it customary in your shul that the Rav sits all the way in the back? No. I would be honored if the Rav would sit up here, somewhere close to me. So I heard. I heard a great deal about the Kehillah in Gibraltar, and I was invited many times to come. It never worked out. So I was spending a few days with a wonderful group in Spain, in Malaga, and I'm so happy that finally I have the opportunity to address this wonderful community which I heard so much about. So the Kehillah in Gibraltar is not a very big Kehillah. It's a relatively small one, but it is unique in many ways. I think it's the frommest Jewish community anywhere. I don't think there's a Jewish community anywhere in the world which is fundamentally frum, which has one school, one Jewish school, which produces wonderful young Talmidei Chachamim. So you should be very proud of your community, and I think it is in many ways very unique. So I've been thinking about coming here many times, and I don't know when I'll be back again. And if I have the opportunity to address a community, and I don't know when I will have this opportunity again, I think that what I say needs to be meaningful, and I would like my words to be remembered. So I want to tell you a story about my late father and my great Rebbe. My father passed away 6.5 years ago, and my Rebbe was the Kloisenberg Rebbe. I assume most of you heard of the great Tzaddik and the great Gadol, the Kloisenberg Rebbe, the Tzanzer, the Divre. My father was an Ilui. He was 18 years old when he arrived in Auschwitz with his entire family. Father, mother, 5 out of 8 siblings were sent right. He and 2 younger brothers were sent left. They were sent to the gas chambers, to the crematoriums, and my father and his 2 younger brothers were sent the other direction. The last words my father heard from his father was, Moshe, kik techim avnana bridalach. Moshe, watch over your brothers. And I think my father took that savoa, not only referring to his younger brothers, look after your brethren. That was the first day Shavuos 1944. One day later, second day Shavuos, the Kloisenberg Rebbe arrived. My father didn't know him, but he heard of him. And my father heard that the Kloisenberg Rebbe is 1 barracks next to where he was staying. So my father and dad, first day in Birkenau in Auschwitz, befriended a young man named Hollander. And that young man told him that his father is the next building. So Auschwitz was not like the Hilton or the Ramada. We went to the reception and you asked for another. You didn't ask for anything. You did what you were told to do. But when my father heard that the Kloisenberg Rebbe is in the next barracks, he sneaked out in the middle of the night and he looked for a person named Sender Hollander. He found him told him, your son is in the next barracks with me. You probably would want to be together with your son, so you memorize my number and I'll memorize your number. And from now on, your name will be Moshe Weiss and mine will be Sender Hollander. But it didn't make a difference what your name was, because in Auschwitz nobody had a name. You know, vermin don't have names. All you had was a number. And that is when my father first met the Kloisenberger. My father approached him and said, Rebbe, it means so much to me to be able to get close to you. The Rebbe frowned down on him and said, Bocher, does anybody speak Yiddish here? Bocher, the mindset that Rebbe's helfen said the Gunish helfen. Young boy, if you think it's going to do you any good, won't do any good to be close to me. To which my father responded, Aber wird es mir helfen, mit keiner Reden und Lernen. Of course it's going to do me good because we could talk and learn. And the Rebbe was taken aback and he said, young boy, you're in Auschwitz, you want to talk and learning. To which my father responded, yes, I do, because if we don't talk and learning, how will we prevail? How will we survive? The great Rebbe hugged him, and they taught and learning for the next 15 months, till the liberation. And they taught and learning for the next 45 years. And my father was one of the closest people to the Kloisenberger Rebbe. And I and my brothers ultimately were his Talmid. My father, at 18 years of age, intuitively felt deep in his heart, if we won't talk and learning, we won't prevail. We won't survive. And that was the feeling of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai 2,000 years ago. And as the Gemara tells the story in Masechet Gittin Daf Nun Vav, when Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai finally gets out of the gates of Yerushalayim and he comes to meet Aspasianus Caesar, and nobody could imagine that Aspasianus will like this rabbi. And he tells him, make a wish, and it will be fulfilled. What does Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai ask for? Ten li yavna v'chachameha. In his great wisdom, in his divine understanding, the Ruach HaKodesh, he knows, the Beis HaMikdash is doomed. The Kahuna will lose its relevance if there's no Beis HaMikdash. Then there's not that much importance in the Koyanim. The Messias will no longer be relevant. The only guarantee to the future of our people is Yavna B'Chacham. It is only the yeshivas, it is only the schools, it is only the koylalim that can guarantee our future in those. And that is what my father as a young boy understood and felt deep in his heart. If we won't talk and learning, how will we survive? It's what we've been doing for 2,000 years, and it's the only thing that kept us going. All this torturous path right in God. It is actually the only endeavor we could share, because going back 200 years, if a Yemenite Jew met a Jew from Poland, if a Hasidic Yid from Warsaw met a Jew, a Yekka from Berlin, what could they do together? They didn't share the same language. They wouldn't understand one another. Different cultures, different manners. They couldn't even eat together, because if you took a Yekka from Berlin and sat him with a chassid, first time the chassid would stretch out his hand to a bowl of arvis and put it into his mouth, and then put his hand in the bowl again, the Yekka would run out of the room. The sitter of one wouldn't even be familiar to the other. they didn't have the same Musar. The only endeavor they could share, and the only thing they could do together is talk and learn. What they shared is the same Mishnah, the same Talmud, the same Shulchan Aruch, and the same Rambam, and the same Torah. That is all they shared. And that is all they can do together. Even their skin color and complexion would not be the same. So what kept us going for thousands of years is the fact, Mageret and Lernen, that is what we did together. And the Gemara in Yom Chav Ches says, Avraham Zoken v'Yoshev v'Yeshiva, Yitzchak Zoken v'Yoshev v'Yeshiva, Yaakov Zoken v'Yoshev v'Yeshiva, ומימיהם של אבותינו לא פסקה ישיבה מהם. The very first Jew was the very first Rosh Yeshiva. And the Rambam writes in the beginning of Hilchos Avodas Kechavim, talking about Avraham Avinu, עד שעמד איתן הזה ונקבצו אליו אלפים ורבבות ושתל בליבם את העיקר הגדול של אמונת הייחוד. So the very first Jew was the very first Rosh Yeshiva, and he had tens of thousands of Talmidim. And the Gemara says, Yardu leBavel, Yeshiva imahem, Yardu leMitzrayim, Yeshiva imahem. I don't know whether you're familiar with the book written by an author named Moshe Prager. He was a Polish Chassid, survived the Holocaust, lost his family. Like my father lost most of his family, and the place of Magdalena lost his wife and 11 children, and he was left all alone. And what gave them strength was they talked and learning. They engaged in learning. So Moshe Prager wrote a book. In Hebrew, the name of the book, the title is Eile Shelo Nichneu, those that did not surrender. And he tells the story of Hasidic Yeshiva boys in Ghetto Warsaw that learned day and night. And even in the Warsaw uprising, when from the windows and the rooftops, Jews were fighting the Germans with guns, with self-modeled Molotov cocktail bottles, in the cellars, other boys were sitting and learning till their last gasp of breath. Yes, Yardu leMitzrayim Yeshiva imahem, Yardu leBavel Yeshiva imahem, Yardu leGhetto Varsha Yeshiva imahem. So since then, for all these years, we've been talking and learning, and that is what kept us going. So the future of every community, the guarantee to the future of our people is, as long as we talk and learning, we learn Torah. We are the people of the book. I don't know where this expression comes from. I don't think it comes from our sources, but it's a quite good definition. We are the people of the book. To other peoples, to other nations, you study because you want to achieve a profession. We study because we study. We study because our books is Torah Hashem. And that's what keeps us going. That's the oxygen we breathe, and that is the way we connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that is the way, and the only way, one could know how to be a good Jew, and one could want to be a good Jew. Many times I tell my friends, it was never as easy as it is today to be a Talmud Chacham. You have such vast literature in so many languages. Schottenstein, Metifta. Right now they're working and producing a Schottenstein in Spanish. Maybe it would be interesting to some of you in Iberia, in this part of the world. I actually encourage one of my good friends to support and donate to this cause. So there is so much literature. It is so easy to be today a Talmud Chacham. In every shul, there are so many magnificent shulim. And there are so many ways to listen to the best shulim in the world. You know, wherever I come in the world, people approach me. I am your Talmud Muvak. I never saw the person, and sometimes he never saw me. But So today, it is relatively easy to be a Talmud Chacham, but it was never as difficult as it is today to want to be a Talmud Chacham. If you want to be one, it was never as easy as it is today. But our kids have so many distractions and so many temptations that it is such a challenge just in the motivation. So it was never as easy as it is today to be a Talmud Chacham. It was never as difficult as it is today to want to be a Talmud Chacham. Growing up in the shtetl in Europe, all our kids saw was the Rav and the Sheikhet, the Rebbe and Cheder and the local Rosh Yeshiva. He could aspire to nothing else. But today our kids have so much exposure that we need to pray and do our best to inspire them to want to be Talmud. And the only way to do that is instilling in them the love of Torah, the beauty of Torah, sharing with them how beautiful our Torah is and how inspiring and how beautiful Jewish life is. Setting a positive role model for them to follow. That is the only way we will succeed in having our children following in our footsteps. Every day in the morning we say Birkat Torah. And it is one of the most important brachas, maybe even the most important. According to the vast majority of poskim, including the Beit Yosef and the Mishnah Berurah and Sibbe Mem Zayin, Birkat Torah is a bracha d'oraisa, and it is the only bracha on which Chazal say, Masechet Nedarim Daf Pei Aleph, Al Ma'avda Haaretz. Why do we lose the land? What brought about Churban Abayis and Golas Yisrael? Al Azvam et Torati. And the Gemara says, Shelo Baruchu b'Torah techilo. Degel Machne Ephraim. I don't know whether anybody here is familiar with the Sefer Degel Machne Ephraim. I would be very pleasantly surprised. Anybody know who wrote the Degel Machne Ephraim? So I understand this is not really a very Hasidic community, but the Degel was the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov. And in Parashat Bishalach, he quotes his great-grandfather. Which bracha didn't they say? They didn't say, V'harevna Hashem Elokeinu Divrei Torah Befinu. And the Degel Machne Ephraim writes, Zepele, it's a mystery to me. Why did the Baal Shem Tov say it was this bracha that was missing? It is the least important of the three brachas. And the Gemara says the most important bracha is Asher Bocha Bono Mekol Oami. So let me share with you my understanding, what the Baal Shem Tov said and what brought him to say it. So this bracha V'harevna has two different bakoshas, which is very uncommon in brachas. You don't usually ask for two different things in one bracha. So we start off by asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'harevna Hashem Elokeinu V'divrei Toratcha Befinu. Let us experience the beauty and the sweetness of Torah, and then we ask, V'nihiyeh anachanu v'tzetzaeinu v'tzetzaei tzetzaeinu kolanu yodei shemecha. And my feeling is, these are not two different bakoshas. One and the same. And maybe two sides of the very same coin. If we really expect and hope that our children will want to follow in our footsteps, the only way to achieve that is V'harevna Hashem Elokeinu V'divrei Torah Befinu. If we will let them partake in the beauty of Torah, in the beauty of mitzvahs, in the beauty of Jewish life, then we could fairly expect V'nihiyeh anachanu v'tzetzaeinu v'tzetzaei tzetzaeinu. It is only then that we'll give them a passion for Talmud, right? A passion for learning, and a passion for understanding. I once said, when I spoke to a big community in America, the Yiddishkeit is all about the combination of passion and compassion. So in English, it's a play of words. Passion ben odom lamachim, and compassion ben odom lachavim. we could instill those in the hearts of our children, then we could truly hope. So my bracha to this community is just keep it up and keep on teaching your children and try to heighten the level of Talmud Torah in this community, in the high school, in the yeshiva. I know that this era produces wonderful yeshiva boys in the entire English-speaking Jewish community, and not only, whether it's in Israel or in Gateshead or whatever it is. So I started off my short message to you with a story about my father. And I want to end with quoting my mother, who passed away a year ago on this past Shabbos. It was her first yortzeit. She too was a survivor. When she arrived in Auschwitz, she arrived together with 30 family members. 30 family members. Father, mother, siblings, Zaydis and Bubbies. All were sent one way, and she was the only one sent the others. She was terrified. And when she thought no one was seeing, she ran in the other direction. She ran to be with her mother. But somebody was watching, and that was a Kodesh Baruch. And a Kodesh Baruch who made someone else see as well. And that was a Nazi, who ran after her, punched her in the face, threw her to the ground. She was shocked and dazed, and by the time she got up, she saw no one of her family members. With a broken heart, she went to life. Baal kochacha atucha. She brought 7 boys to this world. I have one of 7 brothers, and we're all Marbitzei Torah B'Yisrael. She died a year ago at the age 93, and she left over more than 500 descendants. All Shomer Torah mitzvahs, many of them Marbitzei Torah. And in her later years, she used to say, that is my revenge. That is my nekama. She died and left over 500 descendants. She remembered everyone by name. First 2 generations, she remembered every birthday. And she used to say a word, and I would like to share this word with all of you. What she instilled in us is not only love for Torah together with my great father, but also to feel each and every other individual. To listen, to feel their pain, and to try to be helpful. Torat Chaim v'Ahavat Chesed. She was very intelligent and very learned, and she made a comment. We all know what was the first step in Galut Mitzrayim, when Yaakov Avinu leaves Eretz Canaan, because there's a famine in the land, and he goes to buy food in Eretz Mitzrayim. But what was the very first step in the amazing chain of events that led to Geulat Mitzrayim? Yosef Atzadik is sitting in a dungeon, in a prison cell, together with 2 Goyim, 2 Gentiles, non-Jews. What does a Jew do, a young prisoner, when he finds himself in a prison cell with 2 older Goyim? I think he turns to his corner, hoping nobody notices him. He doesn't want to talk to anyone, like a fly on the wall. Yosef sees these 2 people, he doesn't know them, and he turns to them. Madua Penechem Rohim Ayayim. Isn't that insane? What are you looking for, tzoros? You don't know these people. Obviously they're criminals, otherwise they wouldn't be in prison. But Yosef cannot see a person that is distressed, seems to be sad, and not ask him, do you really think you could help? I don't know, but maybe I could. And Yosef turns to these 2 prisoners and he says, Madua Penechem Rohim. And they respond, we had a nightmare, we had some bad dreams. And Yosef suddenly discovers a talent he was never aware of. And it works. And words come out to Pare, and Pare has a bad read. And then he becomes Mishnah Lamelech Mitzrayim, and that amazing, miraculous Shem then ultimately leads to Doris Mitzrayim. And it all started with one simple question. Madua Pnechem Rohim Hayoim. Yosef cannot see a person that seems to be in trouble and in pain, cannot try to be helped. So these are important fundamentals that I learned from my parents, and I think each and every one of us as parents should try to share with his children. So my bracha to all of you, first and foremost, to the Rav Asher Weiss Yom Bishon and B'Toivu B'Yim and Baris Gufa and Haram Alyan continue to lead this beautiful community, and all your flock, and each and every one of you should have so much knowledge from his children. We should share the status. Our children should follow in our footsteps and pass over the torch to the coming generations, and let us hope that it won't be long before we will all be saved. We should deserve to be as Mashiach Tzidkenu. Simcha olam al rosham b'mehera.